Well, welcome back to Dunkirk Dunes. I'm going to go ahead and recap Japan turn 15. So Japan had 76 to spend. This is the monks game here that we're kind of following along. And what they went ahead and bought was 6 infantry, 5 transports, a carrier, and a tank. And combat moves. So we'll start over here with, you can see there in the field of view, there is a massive battle here about to happen in the Pacific. And I'll save that one for last. But we'll come over here to Africa and kind of just review what went down over here in Africa. So the Japanese have gotten into Africa a couple of turns ago, and now they're just kind of starting to gobble stuff up. So the infantry here in Rhodesia marched up into Tanganyika, took that over, and then the tank here in Rhodesia blitzed up through Belgian Congo and then into Kenya. And so that is also now Japanese. And then there is a transport here off the coast of South Africa, which picked up the mechanized infantry and the fleet here of a destroyer and an empty carrier came with him, and they moved into Sea Zone 72 and have a little bit out of the field of view there. Let me back up. Landed in French Madagascar and have taken that as well. So I'll put a Japanese marker on there. Then, since I'm already over on this side of the map, I'll just do some of the non-combats that are happening over here. So you'll notice, if I can back up a little bit here, there are a couple of planes, Japanese planes here in Iraq. And what these guys have done, they're no longer needed in Iraq, so they have flown down and they have landed here on the carrier that is in Sea Zone 72. So the tactical and this fighter have flown down and landed on our carrier there. So that kind of takes care of it for this side of the map. Now to kind of go over to the other side, maybe before I get to the Pacific battles, there's a little non-combat movement going on here. So the 2 tanks in Yunnan have gone down into Burma. They are kind of assembling a larger force, strengthening their Japanese force there to face off with the significant UK force, multinational force really. There's Anzac troops there, there's surviving Soviet planes there. So they're kind of facing off one another in Burma and India. But because of what the Soviets did here, moving into Tunguska, what the Japanese decided to do on their turn is they have a mech here in Sichuan that went 1-2 up into Kansu. And in addition, the 3 fighters that were here in Burma have also flown up to Kansu just to provide a barrier for those Soviet troops there. And, those Soviet troops are kind of wedged there in between the Germans that are in Moscow and the little German force that's up there in Evankiski, and of course this German force that's further east in Buryatia. So we'll see how that goes. Okay, so now on to the big battle here. What's going down? So there's a Japanese fleet here in Sea Zone 63 off the coast of New Zealand. There's another Japanese fleet off the coast of Caroline Islands in Sea Zone 33, and then another one off the coast of Japan, Sea Zone 6. And so all of those have converged on the U.S. fleet that is in Sea Zone 26, and they fought that out. And so what the result of that is that the entire U.S. fleet there has been lost. Go ahead and zoom that in if I can. So the U.S. lost both of those tacticals there. They lost all 3 of their carriers. They lost 2 fighters. They lost all of these destroyers. I believe there were 5. And they lost all of these subs. I believe there were 4. And of course they lost the transports as well. I believe there were 2 of those. And Brother Pius kind of gave me some details on the way this battle went. So the Japanese got hits on all of that stuff except for the 2 fighters in the first round. And so, the U.S. lost an awful lot of stuff there in that first round. The U.S. did get, of course, some hits in rolling their defense, and specifically what Brother Pius took as his casualties against Japan in that first round was he lost all but 1 of his subs. And so those 4 subs were lost. And then in the second round, of course, Brother Pius hit the other 2 fighters that were remaining, the 2 U.S. fighters. But those 2 U.S. fighters did get kind of a parting shot and hit a couple more destroyers on their way out. And so, let me just see here. They have lots of destroyers. But 2 of those destroyers were sunk. And so that's what was lost in that massive battle. So Japan came out really well in that. They lost 4 subs, 2 destroyers, but the U.S. lost 3 carriers, 2 fighters, 2 tacticals, I believe 5 destroyers, 4 subs, and 2 transports. So that really hurts for the Allies. I'm just going to pause this and then I'll clean up what's left. Okay, I've cleaned up what's in Hawaii a little bit. So in addition, these 4 strategic bombers that were in Caroline Islands flew into that battle in Sea Zone 26 to participate, and they ended up landing in the Marshall Islands. And then these fighters and tacticals that were in Carolines have moved up and also landed in the Marshall Islands to provide some protection for them. So in addition to that, on the non-combat turn, so Japan has transports in each of those sea zones that the naval units came from. So 3 transports have come up from New Zealand, and they have not unloaded, but they've brought with them 3 infantry, tank and an artillery from New Zealand. And coming from the Carolines, there is another 3 transports that are bringing another 3 infantry and 3 tanks from the Carolines. And then coming from Japan, another 3 transports have come on over and bringing 3 infantry and let's see, I'll put that there where it will just stay, a tank and 2 infantry. So an awful lot. There's I think 17 ground units there on the 9 transports. They have left behind an artillery, and a AAA there in Carolines. Left behind 1 infantry in New Zealand. But I think they have 17 ground units there loaded on the transports surrounding Hawaii. So that is a massive problem there for the Allies. There's one other little move here. This is actually Anzac's turn. Before they even did anything else that day, before they did the Russians, the Allied player was allowed to move this Anzac transport that's in C-Zone 28 up to C-Zone 10. Okay, so other non-combat moves going on here. So the destroyer that was in C-Zone 35 has set sail and moved up to C-Zone 6. And then, so that's those arrows I can get rid of. And then the 4 tacticals that were stationed here in Philippines have flown to Burma. And they've landed in Burma to bolster that. So they now have 8 tacticals in Burma. I believe there's 16 infantry, 15 tanks, 8 tacticals, 4 artillery, and 8 mechanized infantry there on the Japanese side there in Burma. I don't know the exact count, without counting them, of the British facing them off there in India, but it's right around 40 or 45 infantry with assortment of other things that you see there. There's 3 Soviet fighters, 1 UK fighter, 1 Anzac fighter, 2 British artillery, and 3 British anti-aircraft guns. So, then just to finish off the Japanese turn, they've just placed their new units. So they built 6 new infantry on the factory there in Korea. And then the 5 new transports built on the Japan factory in C-Zone 6. A new carrier built there in C-Zone 6. And then 1 tank, which has been built here in Malaya. And that's basically it for Japan's turn. I believe Japan ended the turn collecting 81 IPCs. So anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you're enjoying this kind of series of videos here, just kind of recapping what's happening in the Monks game. I mean, as I mentioned earlier in some of these videos, this game has been going on a very long time, since I think August of 2022. So almost a year and a half, and I think it's about ready to end, likely here. You know, like I said in the Soviet recap that I just did, this will be the big deal. What's going to happen here? So we will find out soon. But thank you for watching. I'd love to have your comments. You know, any questions that you have. Just comments on the strategy that the Monks have been playing with and kind of how things have gone. Thanks for watching.